are successful. Oh, are you pressing it as well? I mean, I was born before computers had been invented, so I find technology sometimes a bit difficult to cope with. If I press that, what happens? Oh, it goes backwards. No, well, it would work if I press the right button. Oh, that's shit even. Right. Now, it says here that FP7 projects are probably amongst the most competitive and difficult to get in the world. The reason for that is because FP7 is mainly targeting, as it said on the previous slide, it's mainly targeting research and development. So it's not funding projects to build a factory or to employ more people to expand your production line. It is funding to carry out essential research, essentially to provide answers to problems that the EU has decided need to be tackled. So because of that, it is targeting the best quality scientists around Europe, and as a result of that, their success rates are relatively low because there are a large number of scientists around Europe wanting the same money. So typical success rates for many funding programs in FP7 are only about 5 to 10% on average. And I'll say a bit more about those funding programs in a moment. Now, for anybody here in this room today thinking about writing a project proposal for FP7, you have 4 particular challenges that you will need to overcome. The first of those challenges is that you need to convince the evaluators that you've put together all the resources that are needed to achieve the objectives of the project, which is also going to be responding to the impact that the policymakers are wanting. And that was a point made in one of the slides you were shown earlier by Boschko. Secondly, you have to convince them that you will have the required impact at the EU level. Now, you might have a brilliant idea that is innovative for the Western Balkans. It's never been done in Serbia before. But if you're wanting funding from FP7, that is not going to get you the money, because they are wanting your ideas to be innovative at least the EU level, if not to be world class. So that's your second challenge. You have to convince them that your impact of your project is going to be seen across the whole of Europe. The third point, most importantly, if you plan to do research, your research has also got to be world class. Not just the best in Serbia, but the best amongst all the research groups doing that type of research in Europe. And because Europe is competing with the rest of the world, that effectively means that your research needs to be amongst the best in the world. So that's another challenge. Your fourth challenge is something that unfortunately is going to be true whatever the source of funding is going to be that you choose from the EU, because you have to do it all in English. You have to write all of your text in English. Now, for me, many need a problem. But I do know that a large number of people in Serbia, they struggle. Even the good quality scientists, they struggle to write effective English that others can understand easily. And this really is a challenge. And Boschko was giving an example in his last slide of using expressions and words and phrases from the EU policy documents, because then at least you're all using the same English language, the same words as other people will be using. So this is your fourth challenge. Now I'm going to move on to giving some more specific information about FP7. The first is that you can still succeed. I've told you it's probably amongst the most competitive sources of funding in the world, but there are Serbian successes. So the latest data that I have in detail is from December of last year. So after about 4 years of FP7, these are the results. About 200, and I focused only on private companies, so SMEs, large industry, not the public sector, not universities, not research institutes. So I'm just talking now about private companies like representatives that are here today. So up until December of last year, there were about 112 Serbian private companies that had taken part in project proposals in FP7. Of those, 19 of those companies got money. So they succeeded. Their proposals were funded. And they are taking part in a total of 23 FP7 projects, which means that some of those companies are taking part in more than one project. Now, I'm going to show you a detailed description of the types of program available for FP7 in the next few slides. But for now, I'm just going to summarize by saying 19 of those are in cooperation theme, which is for research projects. One, possibly two, it's a bit debatable how you classify the companies. We're in the people scheme, and one, possibly two, it's not clear to me, in the capacities scheme, research for SMEs. Now, an important point for you to note about the participation of SMEs in these proposals, the ones that were funded, is that every Serbian SME was a partner in somebody else's project consortium. There were no Serbians who wrote successful proposals themselves. So the message as far as FP7 is concerned is that you need to make sure that you get yourselves invited to join somebody else's consortium. You do not start writing your proposal for FP7 tomorrow. Well, there's nothing to stop you, but your chances of success are going to be small. So your strategy to be involved in these types of projects needs to be to develop your network of contacts, and Boško showed you how that can be done using the Quarrie's website as one of the possibilities. The European Enterprise Network is a second one. You make sure that you get yourself invited to join somebody else's consortium. That is by far the biggest chance of success for you to take part in FP7. Since that information was available, I had a quick look this morning on the Quarrie's website, and there are at least 6 more SMEs in funded projects during 2011. So the numbers are gradually going up. So it is not a bridge too far, to use the title of the film, if you remember, if you're old enough. I do. So it is possible for you to succeed in FP7. Now, a few words just to describe the different types of program within FP7. Most of the money, about 32 billion milliard euros, goes into the cooperation, which is collaborative research projects with other institutions around Europe and outside. And these are divided into 10 themes, which are different research areas, and I'll mention those in the next slide. So that's where the majority of the money goes. The second scheme is called the IDEA scheme. This is managed by the European Research Council, different from the Commission. It's not managed by the Commission in Brussels. But note what I've put down here in inverted commas. This is one of the comments in one of the background documents for the IDEAS programme. It is challenging Europe's brightest minds. So I like to advise the scientists that I talk to that if you think that you are going to be a future Nobel Prize winner, this is the scheme for you. It is not for anybody who has an idea, this is where projects start from. It is not for somebody with an idea to go to get money. They are not going to fund a typical idea, however good most of you think your ideas are. So this is challenging Europe's brightest minds to push forwards new frontiers in science. So that's the second one. The third one is people, human capacity, improving human capacity of individuals or groups of individuals on occasions. Marie Curie measures, these are divided into different types of training, lifelong learning. There's one here that I'll say a bit more about, which involves industry, then INCO, International Corporation, and certain specific actions. So this is developing human capacity. The final component of FP7 is developing institutional capacity, capacity to do research. And this is divided into a number of sectors again. One that some of you may know, it's the most popular, if I can use the word popular only in terms of proportion of people interested in the scheme. The most popular is research potential, and there have been well over 100 applications from Serbian scientists for RegPop proposals. There's also one here that's specifically targeting SMEs, and I shall say a bit more about that as well. So those are the four major programs within FP7. Now, what I've put here are some arrows. Note that this arrow goes downwards, but the other three arrows go upwards. Now, the direction of the arrow indicates that this is what we would call a top-down program. Top-down means that they tell you what to do. So they give the information on what they are prepared to fund, and you have to do what they tell you they will fund. Now the other three are the opposite. They're bottom up, which means that you have the idea, you are free to do whatever you want to do, and if they like it, they will give you the money. So there's a different approach between those four components. Now, I said I would give you a bit more detail about the collaborative research program. This is divided into 10 themes, and those 10 themes are seen here. I've realised it's actually a slide, it's got a few words of Serbian, ima srpski. Partneri ili aplikanti. I think they're the only words in Serbian that I found on this slide. Nije moj. I borrowed it from, oh no, sedmi okvirni program. I borrowed it from somebody else. It's not copyrighted, I'm pleased to say. So we've got health, food and agriculture, information and communication technologies, ICT, nanosciences, nanotechnologies and materials, energy, environment, transport, socio-economic sciences and humanities, security and space. So these are the 10. The most popular for SMEs, at least SMEs in Serbia, is in the information and communication technologies, where over half of those SMEs taking part in funded FP7 project proposals are in that theme, the information and communication technologies. So there are opportunities for SMEs to take part in all of the themes in the cooperation programme, mainly targeting research of one sort or another, but also demonstration products. Making a prototype, for example, would also be part of this programme. Then in the people action, there is one scheme here specifically targeting SMEs called Industry Academia Pathways and Partnerships. I'll summarise that later on. In the Ideas programme, where in theory you can apply, but I wouldn't really recommend it. And finally, in capacities, there is a scheme here that's specifically targeting SMEs, research for the benefit of SMEs. So you can see there are many opportunities for SMEs to take part in different types of FP7 proposals. So I'm going to give one or two slides about each of those four sectors just to summarise some more information. So here we have those four programs of FP7. The first one, note at the top here, it says they all require international collaboration. This is one of the major objectives of FP7. It is getting people in different countries and institutions to collaborate with each other. So those of you who have never yet developed any links outside Serbia, your first challenge is going to be developing a network of potential partners outside Serbia itself. So FP7 is targeting international collaboration. Cooperation, cooperative research, at least 3 partners from at least 3 countries. And the typical number for small and medium scale projects would be 6 to 10, and for large scale projects would be 15 to 25, let's say. In the Ideas scheme, this is frontier research actions, pushing forward the boundaries of our knowledge in certain new areas of science. However, it is only one partner. So if you genuinely believe you have a world-beating idea, then this could be funding for you. Moving on to the people programme, human capacity, at least 2 partners are involved. There's the